Hi guys, welcome to Chapter 3, Discover Your Values and Goals. This chapter is going to talk about your core values and how to identify them. Kind of the chapter, I'm not going to go to it into lecture. Chapter book will go into kind of assessing your current life stage. We'll talk about benefits and rewards of goal setting, why they're so important. We'll talk about the SMART goal model that you should be using. And then you can use all of this to start brainstorming your long-term, midterm, and short-term goals. So you can start creating a personal action plan, which you can see more about in the book. All right, this is one of my favorite values if you watch Parks and Rec. Never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. And it just makes me laugh that essentially it's, putting in your all and not spreading yourself too thin so that everything is constantly juggling and you're not being effective. And that is a value. It's a value that I definitely use, and so it makes me laugh. So what are your core values? Your core values are the compass that helps you make decisions. They're the things that you believe in that are fundamentally important. They help determine your priorities, and they're measures by which you judge yourself and, of course, judge others. The thing that's key about core values is they're very specific to you. They may not be shared, or at least not in the same manner with your, your classmates, your coworkers, and sometimes even your family. Core values are very, very personal, and so that's what drives us. And it makes it really, really important that we understand what our values are and that they're not always going to match. And so we talk about judging others. And sometimes that can be as simple as, okay, our values don't match. This isn't going to be a good friendship, relationship, working relationship. And then there's the overreach. Your values don't match, so you're a terrible person, then I'm not. That's not what we're talking about. But it is important that we understand our values, because typically we tend to surround ourselves with people who kind of match our core values. So assessing your core values, things that you should see to know what your like deep core values are, has to be freely chosen. So like I said, when a student is in college because somebody else told them, that is somebody else's value. It may not be theirs. It is not freely chosen for that student. Like I said, for me, initially, it wasn't my value because somebody else told me. When I went back, it was absolutely my value. So it has to be something that I, as the person, choose. Nobody can give me a value. It's prized, cherished, and considered precious and publicly affirmed when appropriate. So when somebody would ask me what I thought of school, I was, so stressed out, but loving it at the same time that I was happy to talk about it. People knew why I was in school, what I was going to do with school. It was easy to talk about because it was prized and cherished by me. And then it should be modeled for others. So people saw me going to school and they knew there was no question that education was a value. If your value is family or kindness, any of those, I could meet you for 5 minutes and probably kind of figure out some of your values, because it's just a piece of who you are and it flows out of you naturally because you're modeling it for others. Those are your core values. So it's easy to see. If you're taking on somebody else's value, it may not be easy to see because it is not your natural core value. So again, I've kind of mentioned this. You have different types of goals. So you have your short term, which, I think these are kind of self-explanatory, right? It's going to be the next couple of days, weeks. Your midterm are going to be more within the year, maybe within the semester, 6 months to 2 years. And then your long term is your big picture. It is your graduation, your career goals, all those things. But the important part is all these goals need to feed into each other. If you have long-term goals, so we'll use an easy, I'm going to transfer and graduate with a 4-year degree. Your short-term and medium-term goal should be talking to your advisor, meeting with a transfer specialist, looking at a transfer plan, so that the courses you're taking here, make sure that they align. Do you know what GPA requirement you need for that school or schools? You know how many credits that they'll accept. Some will take all the way up to 60 credit hours, and some might only take 12. And so you don't want to do 30 credit hours here just to have to repeat courses there. So maybe a short-term goal. If you haven't done any of this, that's totally cool. Your short-term goal might be starting some of that research. By the end of this semester, have some transfer plans that you've downloaded, know your GPA requirements, so that maybe next semester you start meeting with your advisor or a transfer specialist. Those can be short-term goals that can turn into medium-term goals when to start talking to that 4-year college, when to start applying, when to start working on those essays that will feed into your long-term goal of transferring and then completing a 4-year degree. So those are just some examples of things that you can start thinking about as you develop your goals. All right. So your book had a cute little YouTube video I hope you watched about this, but this is the format that you want to put your goals in. This is the most effective format. The biggest thing I can say, we're going to go through each one, but make sure that you stay flexible. We talk about barriers to goal, and we talk about crisis as a big one, and distractions. Distractions we have a little bit more control over, right? So when Netflix auto plays and takes us into that next episode, and what we meant to be an hour turns into 8 hours, we can control that. But then a crisis hits, and it will hit you while you're in college, because that's just how life works. Being flexible in your goals can help kind of manage some of that. So ideally, timing. So I've had students who've needed to take a semester off, and they've just adjusted the timetable part of their goal, and that's fine. As long as they come back. You might have to, if you're dealing with work-life balance and you have to work, maybe you slow that goal, adjust again that timetable, and take less classes and take a little bit longer to graduate so that you can manage working, because you've got to eat, right? All of those can come into that. You are your own time frame, but you still need to keep this format even if you're making adjustments so that you can stay on track. So benefits of goal setting. They're going to provide that direction and focus. So we sort of just talked about that. They will increase motivation, because as you develop these short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals, it helps you see that progress. It's really easy to get bogged down when you're working towards, let's say, graduating, right? Whether it's a 2 or 4-year degree. You guys are in your first or second semester, so graduation seems like forever away. And as you're going through classes, if you're not looking at your goals and you're not reassessing, it feels like you're just stuck. It feels like you're going through the same cycle. So having these goals that you're accomplishing, whether it be weekly, monthly, semesterly, yearly, gives you that progress. You can see that you're moving forward. In that, it'll help reduce your anxiety and stress. We'll talk about stress management towards the end of the semester. But what I can tell you a lot right now, for a lot of students, myself included, anxiety and stress kind of come down when we're just focused on all the things in the big picture. When we sit down and break it down into little goals, and we'll talk more about it in time management, break out our time, and see that will just automatically reduce your anxiety and stress, because you'll have that plan. You'll have something that kind of makes sense for you. Really breaking things down. So when you look at all your syllabus, it's really easy to get overwhelmed and anxious. But when you sit down and make a semester plan, and you see when all your exams are going to line up, all your major assignments, that will reduce that anxiety and help you develop some of those goals to knock out throughout your semester. It's going to help you focus. We'll talk about time and resources as well in chapter 4. Get faster results. I really just think that's seeing the progress. Same with the improved performance. The biggest, this last one, measure progress and success. That part is really huge, because you have to be able to reassess. When you're goal setting and you're looking at those goals, like completing a course can be a goal. But if you complete a course with an F, you haven't actually accomplished anything. That is a chance for you to reassess. All of your grades, to me, are a gauge. They're not the end all, but they're one way to sort of monitor your progress. Not that you have to go for the 4.0 GPA, if that 4.0 GPA, excuse me, if that's not part of your plan. But obviously you're looking to pass courses. And so are you passing courses at the speed and the grades that you want? And if not, why not? Those are learning opportunities. Is that an opportunity to start visiting the tutoring center? Is that an opportunity to start reevaluating our strengths and weaknesses? Is it an opportunity, and I have done this, to look at our schedule for the next semester? I definitely took an 8 a.m. college algebra course when I was at Texas State, which was Southwestern at the time, and I lived off campus. I very rarely went to an 8 a.m. college course that was going to take me an hour to get to. That was a bad call, knowing I'm not a morning person. So sometimes it's looking at the way that we schedule build. When is our most effective time to be in course or to be studying? All of those are opportunities out of these setbacks that you might have, and out of measuring and monitoring your goals.